Hey everyone, it's Samantha and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am taking my client's one row of extensions and turning them into halo extensions for her. She decided that she wanted to take a break from wearing her current extensions, and the way that I was able to make this possible is because these wefts were already custom placed and laid on her head. So the dimensions and how everything will fit on her was already pre-measured. The wefts were hand laid. It was already done. So when it was time to take out her extensions, I slid out the entire row and I kept everything intact. If there was any shedding of any wefts, my assistant and I made sure all of that was glued down and did any stitching needed to make sure the actual weft was secure. But when placing the wefts back around her head, I wanted to measure how much space I would need with my fishing wire to create the halo. So once I found my measurement, I did use my little brown Sharpie to mark where I need to place my knot to tie off my second corner. So as you can see here, you can see where I marked the extension, or not, I'm going to say extension string, it's the fishing wire, so that way I know where to seal it off, and I cut it to make sure I give myself some extra room for knotting. And when it comes to stitching, I kind of stitch very similar to how I do my extensions. So I slid the fishing wire through, and I'm going to create a loop, and then the fishing wire is going to loop back through the hole, and then I will tie a knot. And just FYI, fishing wire is very tough. It's slippery. It's not going to tie as tight as you want it to. So you want to make sure you have a really good firm grip and do quite a few knots. So as you can see, I'm creating loops, and then I'm pulling the string back through the loop. And once I did 2 loops forward, now I'm doing a stitch back behind my first stitch, and I'm looping it back through again. And what you can do, as you can see here, I am double knotting it. So when the fishing wire was looped through and you created that circle, you would then take the end of the fishing wire and pull it through again, and then again to create a double knot. So now I'm just tying it off like I would tie your shoe. But as you can see, the string is so finicky and it takes a lot of pressure to really secure it and tie it tight. So if you could have someone help you to tie it, or do your best to pull on both strings, but you want to be careful to not try to pull it too hard, because then you'll stretch out that space that you need to lay the wefts across the hair. You don't want to overly pull that, so then the wefts will be sagging. If that is something that you're nervous about, you can make that space for the fishing wire in between the 2 corners a lot smaller, because if you feel you're going to be pulling it to make it tight, then give yourself less room, so that way you have room for it to stretch. But as you can see, I'm just still stitching through, making my loops, and pulling the fishing wire back through the hole I created. So I usually will do a few stitches forward and then another stitch back, so that way there's no chance for this fishing wire to become like unraveled whatsoever. And as you can see, I'm like pulling tight, and it takes a lot of effort to make this snug. So if any of you have a better way to make sure this stays tight, let me know, but this is what has seemed to work for me. And granted, this is actually my first time making this for a client. I've turned my clients' rows into clip-ins, but I've never created a halo, so this was a fun challenge for me. And I'm using my pliers just to clamp down the knot so it's not sticking out. I'm trying to get it to lay as flat as I can, but as you know, fishing wire is thick, so it's a fine line between doing a lot of knots or trying to do less knots and make it as flat as it can be. And here we have it. Ready to boost your profits behind the chair? Visit awealthyhairstylist.com today. Alrighty, so this is my client's hair without her extensions. She has the length, but obviously she just would love the fullness. So I am actually sectioning out her hair exactly how I would section it for an install. And this would be for a one row. And since her halo is just her one row, it's perfect. I kind of create a little horseshoe shape. And I always tell my clients, try to get as much of your top hair up as you can, so that way it's an easy way for you to place your halo weft directly over the section of hair that you've pulled up. So that way when this section falls down, everything should blend pretty well. So we have her sectioned, and now let's lay the halo that we created with her original sewn-in wefts, and there we have it. It actually lays pretty well. I was pleasantly surprised. It looks great. The placement is still really well, like pretty much almost exactly to where I would install it. And now we took down the top half of her hair, and let's see how everything blends out. It actually looks so good. It looks like they were sewn in. But one thing I do tell my clients, or at least I was telling her, you want to make sure to pay attention to the little front hairs where the halo is exposed, or I should say the fishing wire. So I'm just taking my fine tooth comb, and any hair that looks like it's pulled under the fishing wire or above it, I'm just pulling it out of the section so that way the hair could fall at its natural place of how the hair wants to lay, and then everything will flow beautifully. And there you have it. There's her old wefts now installed as a halo. And we decided to curl her hair. I am being very conscious of actually like holding her new halo because I don't want it to be pulled out of her hair. So for her personally, it might be best to just curl them out of her hair and then put them back in. Unless if she, just makes sure she holds it to her head when she brushes out her curls. But it looks perfect, just like how it would be when I installed it. And there you have it. Now it's super easy for her to take on and off, and it looks fabulous. It gives her the fullness, and I love it, and my client was super happy. So let me know your thoughts about what you thought about this halo process. It was definitely my first time doing this, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you back here soon.